episode of Prem's Vlogs. This is part 3 in my series of growing up gay and Indian and Punjabi and whatever the hell it is that's going on in your life while trying to deal with all these issues. So this week I want to talk to you about something a bit different, which is relating growing up gay to the younger generation, because my generation is completely different and the generation below me now have got things a hell of a lot different to how they were when I was growing up. I mean, I was born in the late 90s, so, beginning of the millennial. Kids nowadays have got things a lot different to how people of me and people around my age had things. So, as I've already mentioned, you guys know me, I love a good Instagram poll. And I asked you guys some questions on my Instagram story. And the results actually quite surprised me. They weren't what I was expecting, to be honest. But it was really, really good to see what you guys thinking about these kind of topics. So a bit of background here. I recently read an article in a gay newspaper, well, I say gay newspaper, LGBT newspaper called Pink News. And it was about the fact that a primary school in Warrington in England has been trying to teach primary school kids about what it means to have be gay, for example. So I'm trying to think of the right way to word this. So they had a storybook, and instead of being a prince and a princess, it was a prince and a prince. And they're trying to introduce this idea in a very childlike way, while still trying to get the point across. If you want to marry a prince, and you're a prince, it's fine. If you're a princess and you want to marry a princess, it's fine, You can marry whoever the hell and be with whoever the hell you want to be with. It's your life. And I found this really interesting from my perspective, with the fact that the school had actually been receiving a lot of hate from people, and how they shouldn't be teaching this, they're pushing the gay agenda, the typical thing, which I love this one because I think it's hilarious. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Which I think is quite a funny one, to be honest. But yeah, I found it really interesting reading this article and reading that actually there was a lot of debate around this, and a lot of debate about what people are thinking. So in relation to that, I asked you guys question 1. Is it okay to teach the idea of marrying whoever you want in schools? This one didn't really specify, this is just schools in general. Of which 96% of you said yes, and 4% of you said no. This one I was happy with, because I got a lot of responses to these, answering these questions. This is kind of what I was expecting for this one, so it was quite nice to see it was what I thought it would be. It is 96% yes, 4% no, and that is teaching the idea of marrying whoever you want in schools. The next question I asked you guys caused a lot of controversy, which is that are primary school children too young, specifically to primary school, are primary school children too young to be taught it's okay to be gay? It doesn't matter. It's okay if that's how you are. 81% of you said no, so if that's no, they're not too young. 19% of you said yes. This I found quite surprising, because these are just percentages. When I looked at the numbers, they were quite high. I'm not going to relay the numbers to you, but because I can't remember what the numbers were. But I genuinely did find that very surprising, that the amount of yeses I got, that they are too young. I wasn't really expecting that, to be honest, because, in my opinion, for example, this is not even my opinion, this is just having a debate here around this subject, is the fact that we are talking about children who are of the age where they get taught sex ed. Okay? Children who are in year 5, in year 6, which is still primary school, get taught about sex ed and, reproduction and all that sort of stuff. So, I find it very interesting that they get taught about that, but they're not taught about that it's okay to be gay, which, in my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, guys, is a much less of an intense subject than sex ed. So, from that, I then asked you guys another question, which was, if they're too young, so if primary school children are too young to be taught it's okay to be gay, can it not then also be argued that they're also too young for sex ed, which most get taught in year 6? And this brought about even more interesting results, by which we've had. So, the question is, can it be argued that also too young for sex ed? 57% of you said yes, 43% of you said no, which is a lot. There's a lot of variation there in the numbers, which I generally find really is very eye-opening because, we're talking about a very intense subject here, I think, personally, for people who are in year 5 and 6. I mean, just in my personal opinion, I don't feel like if you're being taught it's okay to be gay, that I don't think that's a very intense subject. But the fact that, people out there in the world thinking, okay, it's appropriate for them to learn that, we're talking, I don't know, what age are year 5 and 6, 10, 11-year-olds, but they're not being taught that it's okay to be gay. But can we not then also argue here, guys, that they are mature enough, if they're seen as mature enough to be able to handle that, surely they're then mature enough to be able to handle the whole it's okay to be gay issue? I'm just having a debate around this here because I do think it's a very interesting topic, and it's obviously brought around a lot of debate in a school in Warrington. I mean, whether or not you approve of what they're doing, that's your own personal opinion. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't think. It's not my place to. One of the responses I did get is I do think was quite interesting. Bear with, guys, I'm just finding it. So, I had this reply back to the second question about, the sex ed question in relation to is it okay to be gay, which is that it just varied to primary school children in the first question, so it really depends on the age. If it's based around year 6s, you're going to get different results, which I do appreciate where they're coming from. I do find that a very interesting thing because year 6s are a lot more mature, but at the end of the day, they're still in primary school. They're still, they're not yet in high school. But if we're going to sit here and say, no, they have to wait to high school, we're only talking another year away when they're 11, 12. So should we not really be interested in this idea younger, rather than having a generation who are confused? I mean, I can't tell if things are changing. I left high school quite a few years ago now. When I was in there, this wasn't a subject that you got told about. No, primary school, definitely not. It wasn't a talked about thing. Even then, the early 2000s. So, we've come on a hell of a lot since then. Times are changing. In relation to this whole thing, it also prompted me to ask you guys a question that I've been wanting to ask for a while. And this is a subject which I don't often touch. Well, I don't really touch on it, to be honest, because it's quite a touchy subject. And that is that, can you be gay and still be religious? Separate kind of argument, but I feel like this comes into it because when you're growing up, I can only talk for myself. I come from a family who are religious. Some other people grow up in very, very intensely religious families. And this is a question which I've always thought about. If you grew up in a very religious family and you then realise that you're gay, can you still believe in that religion? I want to know what you guys thought about this. This isn't my opinion here. I want to know what you guys think. And I got a result like this. 95% of you said yes, and 5% of you said no. This one was pleasantly surprising because, in all honesty, I was expecting a lot more no's than I did get yeses, which is very nice to see. It sees that, people's opinions are changing. However, we can't also forget that we live in a society now where a lot more people are atheists. If you want to go about 30 years back in time, you are going to get a lot of different results. Which is, a very interesting kind of topic, I think. That's it from me this week, guys. I think that's bringing an end to the Growing Up Gay series I was trying to kind of do here. So there's part 1, 2, and 3. If you haven't checked out part 2, please do check it out. Obviously, check out this one. Check out all my other videos, vlogs, whatever you want to call them. Next week, we're going to be talking about Mental Health Awareness Day. Mental health in today's generation, how we're dealing with this, resources, etc., etc. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, guys, please like, comment, subscribe. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Collab with me and Sonia is coming out very, very soon. We are currently just trying to find out a date that works for us both. We are in the, trying to discuss it. Um, as always, guys, in the words of Ellen, be kind to one another. Have a great week. Peace.